Hi, I'm Karen Sadvari. I'm the associate pastor here at Community Church and one of the pastors of the Ocean Pines Snow Hill Cooperative Parish. And today we're continuing our look at some of the parables that Jesus told. And today we're looking at perhaps one of the most familiar parables there are, and that's of the prodigal son. And we find this in Luke 15, verses 11 to 32. And I am just going to paraphrase some of it because it's quite a long passage. But it starts out, a certain man had two sons. And whenever a parable starts out that way, you kind of know that one son is going to be good and one son is not. And so we have this son who wanted his share of his inheritance here and now. He didn't want to wait till dad died. He just wanted his money and he wanted to go off on his way. And so as these things go, he used up all his money and he came to his senses and realized that he could just go home and work on his father's property and be better off than he was now. And so I'm going to pick up where he heads home. While he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was moved with compassion. His father ran to him, hugged him, and kissed him. Then his son said, "Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son." But the father said to his servants, "Quickly, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Fetch the fatted calf and slaughter it. We must celebrate with feasting because this son of mine was dead and has come back to life. He was lost and is found." And they began to celebrate. Now the older son was in the field. Coming in from the field, he approached the house and heard music and dancing. He called one of the servants and asked what was going on. The servant replied, "Your brother has arrived, and your father has slaughtered the fatted calf because he received his son back safe and sound." Then the older son was furious and didn't want to enter in, but his father came out and begged him. He answered his father, "Look, I've served you all these years, and I never disobeyed your instructions. Yet you've never given me as much as a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours returned, after gobbling up your estate on prostitutes, you slaughtered the fatted calf for him." Then his father said, "Son, you are always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found." So we turn to this parable, and there's a couple things I want to focus on it because you could talk for days about this parable and not exhaust all the topics in it. But the first is that when the son was on his way home, his father saw him while he was still a long way off. Now that means that the father was looking for the son. The father, somewhere deep in his heart, just knew that sooner or later his son would come home. So he was watching and waiting. And he didn't wait till that son got close. As soon as he saw him, the father took off running. Now, many commentators will tell us that rich men in those days didn't run, but this father did. This father's heart was full of love. This father had been mourning the loss of his son that was no less real than as if the son had died. And so he ran to him and he embraced him and didn't even let the son get out the full apology and confession and "Let me be your servant, Father," before he interrupted him and restored to him all the trappings of his position as son. And so this parable calls us to similarly be ready to just shower love on those whom we may think didn't earn it, but who deserve it just because they are people and children of God. And the other part I want to focus in on is that older son. Because usually when we read this parable, we can picture ourselves pretty easily as the younger son. We can admit the times that we have sinned, the times that we have turned away from God, and we like picturing ourselves being welcomed back into God's embrace. But we also have to realize that we as individuals, and unfortunately sometimes we as the church, we are not ready to do that, and we are not ready to welcome back those who have seen the light and decided to come back to God. We are judgmental, like this older son. We do want to declare all the different ways that we deserve better treatment than that other person does, to talk about all the ways that we have been more faithful, as if we could earn grace, which is something we always struggle with, to accept that none of us deserve grace. And we have to listen to the Father's words where he says that everything I have is yours. We can wonder why nobody went out and told the older son, but we have to understand that sometimes in the immediacy of a situation, when someone needs to be loved, we might not get all the things we think we deserve, all the things that we think we need in that moment, when someone else's need is greater than ours. But we can, in the midst of all this, marvel at the limitless love of God, that we can strive to be loving in the way that God is loving, and to withhold our judgment, knowing that we too have earned judgment. And so may we, as we go through our lives, try to be as loving and compassionate and understanding as the Father in this parable. Amen.